Tonight, road rage unleashed on a busy road in Melbourne's southeast. Labor Senator Kimberley Kitching's grieving husband tells her funeral she deserved better. Breaking news, 2 people rescued from a burning house in St Albans. A breakthrough over the execution murder of a Melton footballer. Cost of living relief where shoppers can save up to 70% on grocery bills. And the AFL's promise to fans after a controversial opening round to the new season.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Peter Mitchell starts now.
Good evening. A violent road rage attack has erupted on a busy road in Melbourne's southeast. A driver repeatedly tried to mow down another man in Cheltenham. Chief Crime Reporter Cameron Bowe has the details. And Cameron, it's left witnesses stunned.
Mitch, this was a highly volatile situation. Just after midday, a driver was driven into after he got out of his van to confront another motorist. That took place here at the intersection of Warrigal and Centre Dandenong roads. Now, witnesses say that a 4-wheel drive, which had been towing a trailer, had been tailgating the other vehicle along Warrigal Road. That sparked the ugly situation here. There was a second hit. The 4-wheel drive then attempted to leave the scene. Shocked witnesses attempted to follow the 4-wheel drive, but there was more dangerous driving.
Running stop signs, going on the other side of the road, you name it, he was doing it. So we had to stay back a little bit, be a little bit more sensible about it. He tried to just say that it wasn't him, that the other guy was trying to kill him, and I said, well, you're the one in the car trying to ram someone.
Now, the rego plate details of the 4-wheel drive have been provided to police. They're trying to get in contact with the driver who was struck during the clash, Mitch.
Cameron Bowe at Cheltenham, thank you. The grieving husband of late Senator Kimberley Kitching has slammed the hurtful treatment she endured from senior Labor figures. Andrew Landieu says his wife deserved better than the bullying she suffered.
Proving politics can truly be a broad church. Both sides of the political aisle on the same side of the aisle. Leaders, past and present, paying their final respects to a colleague they knew as Kimber.
A lioness, a blessing.
A long, loving tribute from Kimberley Kitching's husband, Andrew Landieu, with one allusion to the bullying she alleged against Labor's Senate leadership team.
Of course, there's a lot I could say about the unpleasantness of a cantankerous cabal.
All in the church today.
But I hope it's sufficient to say she deserves so very much better.
2 states away, Scott Morrison campaigning in Queensland with a delayed handshake moment as Labor's Peter Malinauskas is sworn in as the Premier of South Australia.
The gravity and the poignancy of the moment is not lost on me.
Nor on Scott Morrison.
I've already spoken to the Premier in South Australia, wished him all the best and congratulated him.
The win extending a sea of Labor red across the country. At state level, the Liberal blue now only in New South Wales and Tasmania.
The federal lessons from South Australia, health is now the big vote changer as pandemic politics flips. Government's no longer thanked, but blamed, something Scott Morrison wants to avoid.
Selling multi-government city deals that put him side by side with WA Premier Mark McGowan last week. Today, Queensland's Anastasia Palaszczuk and the new South Australian Premier.
We're going to work as close together as I'm sure as I've worked here with Premier Palaszczuk and the many other premiers.
He hopes the next joint announcement will be with Victorian Premier Daniel Andrews. That would be a real eye-opener. Mark Riley, 7 News.
To breaking news now, and 2 people have been taken to hospital after a house fire in Melbourne's northwest. Details are just coming through to Jodie Lee in the newsroom. And Jodie, there were fears residents were trapped inside the home.
Well, Mitch, emergency services were called to the St Albans property just before 5 p.m. to find flames licking at the roof and thick smoke billowing from the Lavenia Street home. 2 people, a man and woman in their 30s, were said to have been inside at the time, and also 6 children. Everyone, though, managed to get out. The adults have since been taken to Footscray Hospital in a stable condition. Now, at the height of this blaze, 8 fire crews responded. As a precaution, they evacuated nearby homes. Victoria Police is now also on scene. They're investigating the cause of this blaze as a thick smoke haze continues to blanket the northern suburbs. Mitch?
Jodie Lee in the newsroom, thank you. Rising fuel prices are now threatening to impact Melbourne's major projects, with truck drivers poised to strike over a compensation standoff. It's the latest cost of living issue facing Victorians as families brace for a looming gas bill shock.
Unprecedented fuel prices are cutting deep for the transport industry.
It's just not profitable to run the trucks anymore.
Truckies receive a minimum of $1.40 a litre back under a state government rule, but diesel prices are now close to $2.25. Tip truck drivers are planning to blockade state parliament next Monday.
We're going to bring the trucks into the city because if they're not paying attention to us, just me turning up here in high-vis. They certainly will when we have 200 tippers parked out the front of the place.
They say ongoing industrial action is possible, which would impact major projects like the Westgate Tunnel and level crossing removals. For some, it was hard to say.
Tip truck drivers.
But the state government is trying to find a compromise.
They've put some suggestions to us and they'll be worked through with Industrial Relations Victoria.
Today a meeting failed to resolve it, but there is hope.
I got the impression they want to help, but let's see.
As cost of living rises bite, the opposition argues the Andrews government is adding to the problem, overseeing a new windfall gains tax, landfill levies, Eastlink and CityLink tolls and local council rates.
We've got much bigger taxes here than other states and territories because they've wasted so much money on cost blowouts on major projects.
And a warning today, there's worse to come thanks to an increase in some household gas prices of up to 16%. The advice, do your research now to avoid bill shock in winter.
For a dual fuel household, that is gas and electricity, there could be up to $600 to $800 to be saved.
As prices rise, some will make risky choices.
For example, people that rely on medications, what we do know is that they'll start not to pay for their scripts because they need to put food on the table.
Paul Dowsley, 7 News.
Overseas, more civilian targets are now being attacked in Ukraine, and there are unconfirmed claims Ukrainians are being moved into Russian concentration camps. Around 10 million people have been displaced since the war began.
A new horror hits the decimated city of Mariupol. Up to 400 civilians were using this art school as a shelter. They're now feared trapped, injured, or worse. Our children, our elderly are dying, he says, will be wiped from the map. There are new unconfirmed reports those left in Mariupol are being forcibly deported by Russians into Russia.
It is unconscionable for Russia to force Ukrainian citizens into Russia and put them in what will basically be concentration and prisoner camps.
But Mariupol won't surrender, rejecting a Russian offer to hand over the city as the invaders' onslaught rages on. A shopping mall in the capital, Kyiv, bombed. A survivor reaches from the rubble. A new night of merciless shelling and fight back from the air and on the ground. These pictures appear to show Chechen fighters, Russian allies, who've joined the assault. Here, claims of Russian troops storming an apartment complex, holding residents hostage, and after tolerating protests in Russian-held cities like Kherson, where locals peacefully drove back the invaders, elsewhere, Russia is cracking down. This was in Berdyansk, where Russian army vehicles marked with that increasingly ominous letter Z are driving through the streets. Speaking to Israel, Ukraine's president, born to Jewish parents, likened the invasion to the Nazis' final solution, the Holocaust. But this time he said it's about us, Ukrainians, pleading with Israel to do more. At St. Peter and Paul Church in Lviv on the fourth Sunday of the invasion, regular worshippers praying for peace, newcomers coming to find solace and maybe hope.
The
The prospect of concrete peace talks to end the violence and answer these prayers is treated with scepticism here and in the West. The thought that Russia simply can't be trusted.
We believe in God and in other Ukrainian army, and and I know that we will win.
How does it end?
I think with the victory of Ukraine in the whole world.
25 days in, this war has already left 10 million people displaced, homeless inside their own country or fleeing to another.
And Hugh Whitfield joins us now from Lviv. Hugh, there's now a growing possibility of direct peace talks between Ukraine and Russia.
Well, Peter, there are reports that Vladimir Putin has accepted he will need to meet Volodymyr Zelensky face to face. That doesn't mean a meeting is imminent, but it is at least plausible. Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett has been speaking with both presidents, and Jerusalem has been flagged as a potential location for any high-level peace talks. For now, though, it is not stopping the bloodshed in this country. Meantime, as the Ukrainian president tours the world's parliaments virtually, Scott Morrison says he'd welcome an address to Australian MPs by Volodymyr Zelensky, suggesting it could happen in the next fortnight. Mitch?
Hugh Whitfield in Ukraine. Thank you. A speedboat has erupted in flames on the Mornington Peninsula. Boat owners and fire crews scramble to save more vessels from catching alight as the fire spread down the Blair Gowrie Marina late yesterday.
The fire crews found the fire burning quite ferociously. The initial boat that was on fire had spread to the boat next door. CFA crews supported by FRV worked tirelessly to prevent the surrounding boats catching fire.
The cause of the fire remains under investigation. A con man has apologised for tricking elderly homeowners into paying a fortune for roofing works they didn't need. The Englishman has pleaded guilty to the scam that made him and his friends nearly $500,000.
Joseph Ball admits he preyed on elderly rich Melburnians, going door to door selling roofing work they didn't need. Today, the 30-year-old pleaded guilty to his role in the scam that netted $425,000. His barrister telling the court, to each and every one of his victims, through me, he says that he is very sorry that he became involved in the fraudulent activity that he became involved in. 2 other men are accused of also being involved. Their 24 victims were all elderly, the oldest aged 93. Each was pressured to pay for the work, which left their property in significantly worse shape. In impact statements read to the court, one said, "I was shocked at being duped and extremely disappointed at my trust being abused." Ball's lawyers told the court that he was a victim too. They claim his co-accused orchestrated the scam and that he was easily influenced because he has an intellectual disability. Joseph Ball's facing a lengthy prison sentence and will be back in court next month. Jodie Lee, 7 News.
COVID has claimed the life of a toddler in Sydney. The previously healthy 2-year-old died at the Children's Hospital at Westmead on Friday.
We're not through all of the pandemic yet. The main message to everyone is if you haven't had your 3rd dose vaccine, please go and get that.
Victoria recorded another 7,500 COVID cases today, with hospital numbers jumping to 248, up from 215 yesterday. There's been a breakthrough over the cold case murder of a Melton footballer in the 1980s. A man's been charged over the execution-style killing, but detectives believe other suspects are yet to be caught.
A breakthrough almost 4 decades in the making.
He'd been blindfolded, bound and gagged and shot twice through the back of the head.
Bernard Williams' body was discovered in bushland near Gisborne in March 1984.
I would describe this as nothing short of an execution-style murder.
Despite hundreds of interviews, leads and a $1 million reward, no charges have been laid until now. 62-year-old Peter Raymond Brown faced court accused of the young father's murder.
We're aware that he had personal relationships in the Melton area at the time. It's one of many lines of inquiry. We have to keep an open mind on what the motive may
have been.
Bernard Williams was a passionate member of the Melton Football Club. Police believe there was more than one person involved in his murder because he was such a strong and fit 25-year-old man.
At some point, Bernie would have realised he was in serious trouble, and we believe that he would have tried to defend himself given the opportunity. This investigation is far from over.
One line of inquiry still open is that a former police officer was involved. Peter Raymond Brown was in police custody for unrelated matters. He'll remain behind bars until his next court date in June. Sarah Jones, 7 News.
Commuters are finally getting back on public transport, with new figures revealing usage is at its highest level in more than 2 years. Department of Transport data has revealed some services are at around 63% of their pre-COVID volumes. Some disease experts say lingering in a shop or a cafe for longer than 15 minutes can be more risky than taking a ride on a train or a tram. A protest over British colonialism has interrupted a royal tour to Central America and the Caribbean. The Duke and Duchess of Cambridge are visiting the region to honour the Queen's 70th year on the throne.
It's all in the hips for the future king, wowing this Belizean cultural centre with his dance floor diplomacy. Equally at home with the local punta-style moves, wife Kate. As the pair quickly buried any sign of the anger and claims of colonialism that stole headlines back home.
This is our land, this is our property.
This was the protest that forced the royal reschedule, simmering anti-monarchy sentiment bursting out in the country once known as British Honduras. But on a hastily arranged trip to this chocolate factory...
This is the way you burn off the calories before you then eat chocolate.
Correct. No sign of any bitterness, welcomed with open hearts, quickly winning the PR battle for Belize, charming local farmers and factory workers.
Do you like the chocolate? Yeah.
Still, it's been interpreted as a warning sign for the palace on this 8-day trip across Belize, the Bahamas and Jamaica, keen to keep these Commonwealth nations in step with the monarchy. In London, David Woodward, 7 News.
The AFL is promising to do better by the fans after a frustrating opening round was plagued by long queues and staffing problems. Chief Football reporter Tom Brown has tonight's developments, and Tom, footy bosses are working hard behind the scenes.
Mitch, put simply, the AFL's told me they want to give fans an awesome experience at the footy, and they're acutely aware of those scenes over the weekend, those pictures where we saw long lines at Marvel and the MCG, particularly with catering. I know the MCG is doing additional training this week in a bid to get additional staff, but Travis Old, one of the AFL's bosses, has put the heat on both stadiums to improve the experience.
That's not an excuse. We need to find a better way. And so we're very focused on that. We've spoken about it this morning. We're going to work closely with the MCG, who are also committed to making sure that fans that attend their stadium have a really positive experience.
Now, the AFL didn't achieve their record round one crowd. It was about 10% short. But given particularly the new strain of COVID, which obviously got around late last week, they were particularly happy that fans, most importantly, were back at the football and the results achieved. Mitch.
Tom Brown at AFL House, thank you. Carlton's COVID problem is growing. Tim Watson, it's another curveball for the Blues.
It is, Mitch. The club is dealing with 2 more cases. We'll have the latest shortly. Also, Jeremy Cameron and his fitness fight to face the Swans on Friday night.
All my muscles were just cramping up, and that's why I couldn't really get going again.
The Bombers respond to the harsh criticism from a club great. Ferrari flies in Formula One's season opener, and Mitch, an early blow too for the Aussies in Pakistan. I'll see you again soon.
OK, thank you very much indeed, Tim. Traffic gridlock is looming in Melbourne's northwest. Next, months of road and rail pain are on the way. We'll have the details live. Also, friends face a man accused of killing his ex-wife in her Phillip Island home. The new Australian of the Year on a powerful mission. And coming up later, how to slash the cost of your supermarket bill by up to 70%. There's been a stunning policy backflip from the opposition ahead of November's state election. They're now promising to keep the mental health levy, previously opposed by former leader Michael O'Brien.
We did oppose it at the time, but the bill is now legislated, it's now through, and we've made it clear that we won't.
This is a rabble of an opposition. They've been spooked by the South Australian election. They know that they can't go to an election talking about cuts to health.
The levy targets big business and is expected to raise $3 billion in 4 years. Commuters in Melbourne's northwest are being warned to brace for up to 4 months of traffic pain. Rochelle Brown is in Sunbury this evening, and Rochelle, builders will be working around the clock.
Mitch, construction will run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to remove the level crossing at Gap Road. Locals have been told to expect major delays in the area from May 30 until late this year. Gap Road will be closed to traffic between Evans Street and Horn Streets, while buses and coaches will replace trains during the month of June. The Transport Minister says it's short-term pain for long-term gain.
There's something like 19,000 motorists a day travel this level crossing, and the boom gates are down for about a quarter of every morning peak period. And you can see how in a community like Sunbury that does cause congestion now.
Mitch, drivers will have to allow an extra 15 minutes of travel time through winter.
Friends of a Phillip Island mother have rejected claims she was suicidal before she was found dead inside her home. Samantha Fraser's ex-husband is standing trial, accused of her murder.
Embracing each other outside court after facing the man accused of killing their friend. Samantha Fraser's loved ones still searching for answers, almost 4 years on. The Phillip Island mum was found dead in her garage in 2018, the day after her 38th birthday party. Her ex-husband, Adrian Basham, has admitted to assaulting her at her home, but denies he murdered the mother of his 3 children. Mr. Basham's defence team says Miss Fraser may have taken her own life after being ambushed by her ex. But friends say Miss Fraser had been feeling happy and content after separating from her husband. When asked if Miss Fraser had ever expressed thoughts of suicide or self-harm, close friend Nadine Lead replied, absolutely not at all. She'd started her new relationship. She was feeling very positive about her future. She was just so joyous and happy again. The court heard an angry Mr. Basham approach several of Miss Fraser's friends after the couple had separated. One of them was approached at the supermarket, where Basham described his ex-wife as a manipulator and a disgrace. He was very angry about not being able to see his children. The trial continues tomorrow. Estelle Grieping, 7 News.
More than 2 million Australians living with a disability now have more opportunities to get a job. Grand Slam champion Dylan Alcott has helped launch a platform called Recruitable. Businesses sign up to advertise jobs and receive information about creating a more inclusive working environment.
One of my goals as Australian of the Year is to try and increase employment opportunities for people with disabilities.
Coles, Tennis Australia and Bendigo Bank have all joined the pilot program. Jane Bunn joins us now, and Jane, it turned sunny on a warm Monday.
Which it did indeed, and that is the last of it for now. We're about to go on a roller coaster. Today reached 28 in the city and outer suburbs reached the low 30s. The early foggy low cloud may have reminded you that autumn is here, but this was actually caused by high humidity, so it wasn't the chill that we expect with that sort of weather. The overnight low was 18. However, we'll get a taste of a bit of crispness in the air. Crispness, that's hard to say. Haven't had it for a while. Later this week, the full details are after sport, Mitch.
It's going to be crispy.
Indeed.
Thank you very much, Jane. With big crowds returning to venues across Melbourne, 7 News has been given exclusive access inside a major police operation that's promising to keep our streets safe after dark. Also coming up, furious flood victims take their fight to Scott Morrison's front yard. At least 6 people killed as a car ploughs into a carnival. And how to get your hands on almost $200 million in unclaimed Medicare money. A major police operation is underway to make Melbourne's streets safer after dark. Big crowds are beginning to return to major venues, and 7 News was granted exclusive access as Victoria Police battles to stop a spike in violent crime.
It's called Operation My City. Hundreds of police brought in to tackle public order as the CBD comes back to life.
We're going to engage with the community and obviously challenge any antisocial behaviour.
Electronic eyes above the CBD help Victoria Police patrol the city in real time.
The role is to be out there with a highly visible police presence to deter and detect offences.
Before long, an emergency. A young man is fighting for life.
There is an offender out there with a knife.
Our cameras are there. Officers shut down the heart of the city after the brutal stabbing at Federation Square. They converge on horseback and on foot, police and PSOs fighting to save a life. Officers pounce on his alleged attackers, who are soon in handcuffs. Police intelligence reveals the knife-wielding thug fled on foot and was spotted nearby.
I want to go and check that out, Batman Avenue, Olympic Boulevard.
Uniform and plain-clothed officers catch him and take him away for questioning.
The pandemic forced the city to shut for 2 years, but as you've seen tonight, crowds and revellers are back. And while it's good for traders, police are out in force, not just when there's a major event on, but on every day and night of the week.
I think it's clear that Victorians are really excited to get out there and celebrate our nightlife, which is fantastic, and we want to make sure that everyone can do that safely.
Cassie Zervos, 7 News.
Lismore locals, furious at the Prime Minister's response to the floods crisis, have driven 700 kilometres to Sydney to dump a truckload of destroyed possessions on his doorstep. A police roadblock forced the protesters to carry their items to Kirribilli House.
We tried to have this conversation with him in Lismore face-to-face, but he slipped in the back door of our council chambers.
Scott Morrison says he understands the frustration. At least 6 people were killed and dozens injured when a car ploughed into a group of carnival performers in Belgium. Around 150 people had been getting ready for the annual folklore parade. Nearby security video shows the group passing by before a car is seen speeding down the same street. The driver and a passenger were arrested. The motivation for the attack remains unclear. And the extent of the Texan wildfires have been revealed through helicopter and drone images. Dry conditions and strong winds are fueling the fast-moving blazes, with a growing number of towns evacuated. A deputy sheriff has died, while firefighters have been injured and more than 50 homes destroyed. Thousands of Australians are eligible for cashback from Medicare and may not even know it. Rebates totalling more than $170 million are tonight sitting unclaimed in government coffers.
Here's a little something that could speed up your recovery after a trip to the GP. Unclaimed cash that's rightfully yours.
There are about 800,000 Australians who are leaving money on the table just by not knowing that they have unclaimed Medicare.
The pile of unclaimed benefits has been steadily growing. In 2019, there was $110 million owing. 2 years later, that figure had jumped to $145 million. Services Australia has paid out over $19 million in previously unclaimed Medicare benefits since mid-last year. But today, there's still $170 million worth waiting to be claimed.
The best thing to do if you're unsure is to make sure your bank details are up to date on the MyGov website.
Simply click on View and edit my details.
The average amount people are missing out on is $213. Now, it's better in your pocket than someone else's.
Last year, more than 7 million Australians linked up their online Medicare account through MyGov, prompted by a need to access their COVID-19 vaccine certificates. But for everyone else, it's worth checking your details are up to date.
Once correctly claimed, the windfall will soon be in your account.
Within about 3 days, you'll get the arrears of claims into your account.
Gemma Acton, 7 News.
It's been revealed Victoria's happiest property vendors live north of Melbourne. A new report by Rate My Agent found sellers in the Mitchell Shire, like Broadford and Wallen, achieved the state's highest rate of above expectation over a 2-year period. The area has become extremely popular for Melburnians looking for a tree change and a desire to live further out of the city. Petrol prices have finally started falling after reaching record highs, but there are uncertain weeks to come at the Bowser. The details are next. Also, how to save up to 70% on your grocery bill. And the Pint Police visiting Melbourne pubs this week. There's hope petrol prices will continue to keep falling after hitting record highs in Melbourne. The average price is down to under $2.10 a litre. CommSec economists say the good news is world crude oil prices fell last week. But the bad news is no one knows if the petrol price peak has passed. It will depend on how long the war in Ukraine continues. There's been a spike in the number of Australians taking out loans for holidays. Now borders have begun reopening. Here's Network Finance Editor Gemma Acton.
Thanks, Peter. Well, the local market kept investors on the edge of their seats today, swinging between green and red before finally closing almost flat, down 16 points to 7,279. Magellan Financial Group fell the hardest. That's after billionaire co-founder Hamish Douglass resigned from the company's board. The Aussie dollar couldn't hold on to all of the strong gains made in recent days. It's sitting flat on 74 US cents, while oil is gently marching higher once again. And with borders reopening, Australians are getting ready to pack their bags, with February seeing a sharp recovery in loans taken out to pay for holidays. Peter.
Gemma Acton reporting. Melbourne's pubs and bars are tonight being warned about a crackdown on licensed venues. A blitz by the National Measurement Institute is looking to identify businesses not pouring the correct amount of beer and potentially ripping off patrons. Businesses caught doing the wrong thing could be fined more than $200,000. More shoppers are searching for a bargain when buying groceries, with one supermarket chain proving popular. NQR has stores across Melbourne from Melton to Cranbourne and Ringwood, with plans to expand.
It's called NQR, but there's nothing wrong with any of these groceries and everything right about the prices.
Toothpaste for $1. We also have toothbrushes for $1. They're all branded.
NQR supermarkets are dotted around the suburbs and they're crammed with crazy bargains. 5,000 everyday household pantry and beauty items, with prices slashed by 50, 60, even 80% off recommended retail.
Nothing wrong with the product. Big brands at a cheap price. We pride ourselves on that.
The owners snap up stock that's surplus and sometimes close to use-by dates.
Amazing bargains. So, I mean, the amount of stock that I actually got, the amount of products I got was fantastic. So, yeah, I'm really impressed.
For fresh produce, suburban markets can offer great value.
It'll be a lot fresher and probably a lot cheaper. And there'll always be someone to help you with a recipe or even help you carry it to your car.
Savvy shoppers can save more money around closing time when stall holders slash their prices even further.
Come after 1 o'clock on Saturday and Sunday, and I'm sure that you will find some great prices.
Budget-priced options as the cost of living soars. NQR hoping to have a chain of 30 shops in the next 2 years. Jackie Quist, 7 News.
Sport is next with Tim Watson. And Tim, the AFL has offered help to Carlton.
Mitch, more COVID cases have the Blues searching for answers. We're live with the details next. Also, Essendon on the defence. The skipper's plans for redemption with a star set to return. Hear what Jeremy Cameron has done to get himself right to face the Swans. The Aussies on the ropes in the series decider in Pakistan, and fireworks for Ferrari in the Formula One season opener. Welcome back. The AFL has offered Carlton assistance to help Michael Voss link into the coach's box for their clash with the Dogs. Chief football reporter Tom Brown has the details. And Tom, 2 more COVID cases haven't helped the Blues.
Tim, this is timely. It was a player's day off at Carlton today, but Brad Lloyd, the football boss, and Tim Clark, the midfield coach, are both in COVID protocols and won't be able to participate on Thursday night. The better news, though, concerned Michael Voss and the coaching technology the AFL has offered. At least officially, Ash Hansen will be the senior coach. Carlton regard him as a potential senior coach down the track. They rate Hansen, but they have offered Michael Voss some technology to allow him to patch in to the coach's box. There is precedent. Nick Del Santo did this with the AFL's assistants in the AFLW earlier this year. Meantime, Tim, this morning in Geelong, I spoke one-on-one with Jeremy Cameron. Jeremy Cameron still visibly sore after his trip to emergency.
There's a couple down.
How are you feeling 2 days after getting sort of crunched, for a bit of term?
Yeah, definitely better than the first when it initially happened.
Are you a bit short of breath, or?
Yeah, definitely. I think when you get hit around the ribs sort of area back there, it can give you shortness of breath, and sort of all my muscles are just cramping up.
While doctors eliminated something sinister, in terms of footy, the incidents left Cameron with a hip and quad injury.
Unfortunately, I got a cork right in my left quad as well, and I sort of need that quad to enter the field again, and I couldn't kick either. I jumped in the dam twice yesterday just to try and free it up and get some water there, but honestly, I have no idea.
The Cats signalled they'll be major contenders this season, but curiously, Chris Scott still hasn't officially signed his new deal. Cat sources indicating there's no hold-up, explaining Scott's agreed to his 2-year extension. And according to the coaches, Jordan De Goey was equal best on ground on Friday night. De Goey's flagged he wants to stay at Collingwood, prepared to negotiate soon. In the box seat, the Pies must decide if and when they'll start talks. Rival clubs must decide if they'll take a punt on him and start making offers. Tom Brown, 7 News.
Bombers captain Dyson Heppel says the review from their crushing loss to the Cats was tough to watch. There is some good news, though, for Essendon, with Jake Stringer set to return from injury.
Back to work for the Bombers after a round 1 shellacking.
Very disappointing team performance individually, absolutely, but no, we own that.
The midfield copping criticism from a club great.
Really, really poor. I thought it was a bruise-free game of football.
It can be tough to watch. It's not through a lack of effort or lack of trying, but sometimes it can come across that way when you're not at your best. We've proved in the past that it can turn really quickly, so we have full faith in that.
A boost for the side, Jake Stringer overcoming his groin problems.
Right to go. I thought I was probably going to play, but it just didn't fall my way.
The Bombers face the Lions, who are appealing Mitch Robinson's 1-match suspension for affront on bump. The Dogs also hurting from a tough first week, Luke Beveridge addressing his post-match spray with the playing group.
From my view, he was protecting the players, and his heart was out there to protect our club and our players. So, if you're going to get a touch wrong, at least his intentions were there for us.
Vice-Captain Jack McRae turning his back on free agency, inking a huge 5-year deal.
I really value that, hopefully can be a one-club player, and it's something, when I got drafted, I wanted to be.
Skipper Marcus Bontempelli still racing to prove his fitness from an ankle injury, doing some light drills at training today. But Jason Johannesson is still weeks away with a calf complaint. Laura Spurway, 7 News.
And breaking news from the match review, Willie Rioli has copped a 1-match suspension for his brutal clash with Matt Rao. The Eagles forward returned from a drug-imposed suspension with a bang.
Rioli crashed in. Rao has been cleaned up. Big contest from 2 players.
Rao picked himself up to have 33 touches as the Suns beat the undermanned West Coast by 27 points. It's been a disastrous start to the deciding third test against Pakistan in Lahore. Pat Cummins won the toss and elected to bat. David Warner was trapped in front by Shaheen Afridi on 7. Marnus Labuschagne followed 2 balls later for a duck.
There's another one. There's a neck. Up goes the finger again. What a start from Pakistan. This is sensational stuff.
It would have been even worse if Pakistan had have held a number of sharp chances. The Aussies were 2 for 70 a short time ago. Ferrari is off to a flying start in the new Formula One season. But it was the opposite for Red Bull in Bahrain. With 3 laps remaining, defending champion Max Verstappen was forced to retire due to a mechanical issue.
Hey, what's going on with the battery?
Battery fine.
No, it's not. What the f*** is this?
And this for the world
world champion is certainly not the start he was anticipating.
Charles Leclerc led home a Ferrari 1-2, their first win in 46 races. Lewis Hamilton was third while Dan Ricciardo finished 14th. Rafael Nadal's winning streak has finally come to an end, losing his first match of the year. The Spaniard was upset by American Taylor Fritz in the final at Indian Wells, going down 6-3, 7-6. Fritz claiming just his second ATP title of his career. Liverpool was pushed to the limit by Nottingham Forest in the quarterfinals of the FA Cup. A late goal got the Reds home 1-0.
And there's the opening goal for Liverpool, and it's Diogo Jota once again who has done the business.
They'll play Man City next in a mouth-watering semi-final. The Sky Blues cruise past Southampton 4-1, and Mitch Essendon has something to smile about this morning, or today, after Nick Martin was named the NAB AFL Rising Star for round 1, 5 goals. What a great start to his career.
Fantastic. Nick Dacos is too, not far away probably.
Yeah, we'll get to him later.
Okay, good on you. Thank you very much, Tim.
Jane is next with the forecast. Jane, how is it looking tomorrow?
Well, Mitch, I'd head out in the morning before a change arrives with a burst of wet weather. The full details are next.
Tonight on the latest from 7 News, the major overhaul flagged for cryptocurrencies, what investors need to know. Live to Ukraine on the new atrocities being compared to the Holocaust. And we're following the rocky start to the Royal Caribbean Tour. Join me for those stories and every breaking development tonight on the latest.
As the world faces troubled times, what do you tell your children? From the horror in Ukraine,
The entire wall of this building ripped away.
to uncertainty across the globe.
China has to make a decision.
Help for parents to help their children. A special family report. 7 News at 6.
Hello again. La Nina continues to push tropical moisture over Victoria. Now with that, it can't cool down overnight. Last night's minimum was 5 degrees above average. Then it cleared to sunshine. We reached 28 this afternoon. Outer suburbs climbed into the low 30s, while a weak southerly change made it a bit milder around the bay. We're about to go from hot to cold in our first big change of the season. Fitting that is around the equinox. Days are shorter from here on as our hemisphere tilts away from the sun for the next 6 months. The high humidity trapped foggy low cloud over much of southern Victoria at first. That cleared out during the morning to bright sunshine. It was warm, but not quite at the southwest coast where it is cooler under lingering cloud. Meanwhile, Mildura reached 36. What is about to affect us is quite an interesting bit of weather. Cyclone Charlotte well off the northwest coast, but it is pumping tropical moisture into a cloud band that crosses the interior and runs down into the Bight. Now, cold fronts will push that across southeastern Australia midweek. The wet weather begins in the southwest tomorrow morning, spreading into central parts, including Melbourne in the afternoon and the east later in the day. But if the fronts were stronger, we'd get a lot more rain. They're not powerful enough yet, so much of the northwest of the state won't see more than 1 millimetre or 2, and it clears out during Wednesday. What it will do is turn us from hot to cold. When the front arrives, the air in behind it has much lower humidity, so the wind will feel chilly. We've had lots of air coming down from Queensland. Now this will be a taste of air from the cold southern ocean. So we'll go from the heat and humidity of today to a flurry of snow on the Alps on Wednesday. Around the nation tomorrow, where the cold fronts have a stronger effect the further south you go. So Hobart, a burst of showers there tomorrow, while just a weak cool change in Adelaide with a brief shower. To Victoria, a burst of showers and thunderstorms. It begins in the southwest and it spreads through in the afternoon and evening. Now, it doesn't add up to much in the northwest of the state, while parts of the east near the ranges here could see 10 to 15 millimetres. Closer in, head out in the morning. It is all dry apart from some foggy low cloud. After lunch, it turns wet. We'll have lots of showers streaming through and the risk of a storm. The showers keep going at night. It turns drizzly. We're 23 in the city before a burst of showers arrives in the afternoon, making it feel cooler. They continue at night. There is the risk of a storm too. To the 8-day outlook, the showers continue into Wednesday morning. They'll break up during Wednesday afternoon. I'm expecting just 19, and the wind chill, we won't have felt that for a while. You might want to rug up just a little bit. That clears out by Wednesday night. For the rest of the week, it is dry. About 20 on Thursday, 22 on Friday. Bright sunshine does return for the weekend. We might get a bit of cloud late in the day on Sunday, but we're 24 and 26. Back down to 22 on Monday. A week change moves past with the chance of showers. Back up to 25 on Tuesday. So the morning, that's our dry bit tomorrow. Top of 23. A burst of showers arrives in the afternoon and it makes it a bit more like autumn.
Still a wonderful time of year. Thank you, Jane. And that's the way it is this Monday, the 21st of March. Thanks for your company. For now, from the 7 News team, good night.